Afternoon, everybody. Great to see you here on this historic International Women's Day, when we mark the installation of two statues of strong women who really did live by the courage of their conviction. To mark this occasion, we've got a number of speakers. Will you please welcome to the podium Lord Mayor of Belfast, Brian Murphy.
John and Jadeve, a Carja, Ahas Stone, Unveiled, and Shaw and you are in last specialty Shaw, and almost supports the Verts van Specialty Star Belfast. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with all of you to mark the unveiling of this tribute to two of the most notable women in the history of the city of Belfast, Mary Ann McCracken and Winifred Carney. Today is an historic day for our city. It's a symbolic day, and a day that ensures these women receive the recognition that they deserve on behalf of the city of Belfast. At the very outset, I would like to commend everyone who has worked so hard to bring this project together, especially the talented artists Naomi and Rolf, the subject experts Ruth Talion and Mary Alice Clancy, who provided the assistance to the staff team, and to the committee who ensured this project was brought to completion. Without the input of all of these experts, we would not have been able to give these two women and the exposure that they deserved as authentic representatives of the great spirit of the city of Belfast. Belfast City Hall is a great repository for our city's past and present, and it needs to reflect the people that it serves. Ta éagsalach ar gleich agin an seo emil fershe, éagsalach de Genie, de Hulter, agus de Skeelte, agus ta sé ritawatak go bhfuil Holland a Cahrach, and irawa ar na Dini Coulter agus Skeelte shin ar fad. Mary Ann McCracken and Winifred Carney, two inspirational women who have come before us, now stand proudly in these grounds. Their image at our City Hall represents the women's fight and struggle for equality. It represents the progress that has been made so far. By adding these statues to those that are already sitting in the grounds of City Hall, we continue in our efforts to make this building and its grounds more reflective of our city as a whole. These statues will educate locals and visitors from further afield about our city's great history while celebrating the achievement of women in the city of Belfast. These statues will preserve the legacy of Winifred Carney and Mary Ann McCracken for generations to come. As the Mayor of Belfast, I want to recognise and acknowledge the hugely significant contribution that women continue to make in our great city. I also want to highlight some of the things that still need to change so that we can achieve rights, equality and respect for women of this city. Ta scéal na mán Lárnach scéal bhil feirse, agus ta scéalta Winnie agus Mary Ann mar líorgas ar na scéalta sin dú mra in amanas sacu féin ach dú bhrasa la atá inniu an fásta. Many of the issues that were so vividly represented by both Mary Ann and Winnie remain all too relevant and present today. Childcare and the rights of working mothers, promoting women's equality and career opportunities within the workplace, ending the gender pay gap, access to healthcare, women's representation within our democratic institutions, and an end to gender-based violence. These leaders fought These two leaders fought for equality. They fought for empowerment and prosperity through Belfast revival and regeneration throughout their lives. From the city's early period of growth, we've got the example of Mary Ann McCracken, the social activist, the abolitionist, the campaigner, the United Irelander, the businesswoman whose lifelong commitment was to the well-being of the people of this city, fighting for many, including the poor, women, children, the enslaved, and she's still an example for each and every one of us today. And then we have Winifred Carney, a Belfast woman whose commitment to empowerment led her from being one of the city's first qualified typists, a trade unionist, a suffragist, and all of that culminated in her presence as one of the few women amongst the initial occupiers in the GPO and the Easter Rising in 1916. Today is a special acknowledgement and recognition of the achievements of the women of Belfast. It's important that our City Hall is reflective of all the citizens of this city as a whole. The humanity and the bravery of these two women that's depicted here today is very humbling. It's also hugely important that their stories are told, and with it, the stories of the other women of this city. Stories that challenge the accepted narrative, stories that can still inspire young people today, and stories that show there's still much to be done for women's advancement. Tá muid an bhrudal as Winifred Carney agus Mary Ann McCracken agus literature sin and seo inniu. This International Women's Day, let us here rededicate ourselves to the spirit of McCracken and Carney to ensure that the Belfast we seek to build is a Belfast for the future and a Belfast for all. Gora mille meogav, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think if you look at the statues, you'd all agree with me that the creativity, the artistry that's gone into them is just truly magnificent. Can you give a round of applause for the artists? And with that, it's with great pleasure I welcome Naomi and Rolf Sander, the artists, to the stage.
Thank you very much all for coming today. I'm very grateful for that. But I would like to give the word to Naomi, my daughter, who actually realized one sculpture basically herself, and we worked as a team. And also, thank you very much for my team who's here at the moment. So I give it to Naomi because she's a woman.
Hello everyone, my name is Naomi Vivian Sander. I'm a musician and a visual artist. In this project, my father Rolf, who is an internationally acclaimed artist, and myself have been selected to create the sculptures, with me leading artistically on Mary Ann McCracken and him on Winifred Carney. I feel incredibly honoured to have this chance to celebrate two women on International Women's Day who fought so bravely and tirelessly to bring social reforms, improve conditions for the poor, women, children, the enslaved and the disenfranchised. I would like to express my gratitude towards the people who made this project happen, members of the Belfast City Council and all other institutions involved. I also want to thank my parents who poured so much work, love and time into this project, and the other artistic team members of our studio for their sculptural assistance. Amy McRoberts, who sculpted Mary Ann's right-hand leaflet, Lucy Logan, who sculpted Mary Ann's left-hand leaflet, and Mass Anderson, who welded the bones or metal framework for the original clay sculptures, built the pre-bronze typewriter and was involved in countless other activities. I would also like to extend thanks to the Cast Foundry in Dublin and the builders from Friedrich Company, particularly Piotr and Maciek, and the staff at Belfast City Hall for their fantastic cooperation and for making us feel welcome. Personally, I want to thank my doctoral supervisors at the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance for their support and advice. I also want to thank Mark Russell for emotional support, sharing opinions, or lending an ear when most needed. I want to say a special thanks to my mother, Dr. Grażyna Halina Sander, who tirelessly coordinated, organized, transported, supervised, and continually supported and encouraged the work. Thanks for staying up with me to sew a semi-replica 1840s style Victorian cartridge pleated skirt in order to create a better three-dimensional reference for Mary Ann's garments. To me, Mary Ann and Winifred are iconic. They dedicated their lives towards creating a more humane and just society. I hope that sharing knowledge about these women's work will inspire people today to look at what still needs change and to notice all the small and big things that anyone can do to make a difference. The design of the two statues reflect the values and activities for which they are best known. Winifred Carney was a suffragist, committed trade unionist and political activist. Winifred's sculpture reflects her role as a trade unionist adjutant in the Irish Citizen Army and as James Connolly's personal secretary and political confidante. Her suffragist activism and social politics are also referenced in the leaflet by the typewriter. We chose to represent Mary Ann based on her abolitionist activism. Among her many other activities, she protested and abhorred the slave trade, helped establish the Ladies' Anti-Slavery Association, and handed out leaflets to emigrants to America where the slave trade was still ongoing. Her boycott of sugar is referenced through the depiction of a slave working at a sugarcane plantation on the right leaflet, and the other leaflet references the Wedgwood anti-slavery brooch. We chose the slogan, "Am I not a woman and a sister?" instead of the more common, "Am I not a man and a brother?" due to the connection that McCracken herself saw between the emancipation of women and the abolishment of the African slave trade. Her commitment to the equality of women was in the same vein as her fight against slavery. Her belief in equality, humanity, and liberty was at the heart of what she did. She was also one of the precursors of feminism and the suffragist movement. She was a strong, resilient, kind, and indefatigable woman who gave her all to create positive changes. The slave trade has left an ongoing legacy of inequality that continues to impact our world today on so many levels. I feel that it is important to educate, share, and open doors of discussion about these topics and incite curiosity in younger generations in order to diminish the indifference and ignorance towards these issues. Mary Ann's life story inspires me to look more closely at what could change today, be that modern day slavery, environmentalism, poverty, or the housing crisis. I'm hoping that the statues can bring awareness to visitors about the causes she stood for and inspire ways that we can continue building on the activism today, such as taking part in the walking tours of the Mary Ann McCracken Foundation, which directly contribute towards the alleviation of poverty in Belfast areas, which are economically disadvantaged, the improvement of financial and educational conditions, and continuation of the advancement of human rights, inclusivity, and diversity. It is truly an honor to take part in continuing her and Winifred Carney's legacies. Both Mary Ann and Winifred were visionaries, ahead of their time and very much deserving of recognition. I'm absolutely delighted that this commemoration can happen at such a prestigious and beautiful space, and that we can contribute towards creating greater inclusivity and diversity on the grounds of Belfast City Hall.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. There's not very much left for me to say. So here we are, and we did our best. And everybody who was involved.
I thought Naomi's speech was just brilliant about the power of these two women and their values and what they stood for. Yeah. It would be remiss of me not to mention some very strong women of our own here in City Council who were also responsible. So would you put your hands together for Sinead Grimes and Kirsten Mullen, who facilitated this project on behalf of the Council and the team. Now, when we talk about values, it would be remiss of us on this day not to invite someone from the Irish Congress of Trade Unions to address you. So here he is, Jerry Murphy.
Good afternoon, Lord Mayor, distinguished guests and citizens of Belfast. I'm delighted as the representative of the trade union movement across this island, and particularly as its principal officer here in the north, to be in attendance today at this very significant event. The two sculptures unveiled today are not only a fitting recognition, at long last, of two of the most important historical figures, female historical figures in our city, but also a reflection of our city as it is now. I lead a movement which is 200,000 people strong across the north, and currently 57% of that membership is female. Mary Ann McCracken and Winifred Carney were early pioneers in the battles which have seen women rightly assert their rights to equality of opportunity and treatment. Their examples have thousands of living legacies in every workplace and in every community across this city. Mary Ann McCracken was born into a progressive and liberal household during the Enlightenment, an original Republican, you might say. She's been described as a radical humanitarian, a social activist, campaigner and entrepreneur. She was also a feminist before the word was invented. She was an active supporter of the United Irishmen. She challenged her class and the merchants of Belfast when she campaigned for the abolition of slavery. Her concern for the oppressed was spread across the entire social and economic fabric of Belfast, from the workhouses to the mills. It included education provision and improving pay and conditions. She would have made a great shop steward and an even better general secretary, just like the majority of the trade union leadership in the North are now female. Contrary to popular belief, history does not repeat itself, but every now and then it does rhyme. Winifred Carney was born 21 years after Mary Ann passed on, and her life took her through momentous times and events. Her politics were shaped by the Industrial Revolution, by the emergence of Irish nationalism and its Unionist counter, and by a simultaneous global revolt when socialism took hold in the hearts and minds of working people from every creed and in every nation, city, mine and mill. She worked closely with James Connolly at the birth of the modern trade union movement on these islands, when the movement for power, for workers' power, was faced with the greater power of the bosses and the state, be that in Belfast in 1907 or in Dublin in 1913. She joined with Connolly in the Irish Citizens' Army and was present with the revolutionaries and the patriots in the GPO in 1916. After that terrible beauty, she returned north and continued the work of creating a new Jerusalem for working people, as Ireland was partitioned and the carnival reaction that Connolly predicted came to pass on both sides of the border. And yet, no such border existed in her head or in her heart. Her work with the Irish Transport and General Workers Union, with the Labour Party, and with workers' education continued to expand. Her world was one of resistance to the types of society being forged after partition, and that is where she met her husband, George McBride, a Protestant, a former British soldier, and an Orangeman. They lived by their principles and loved each other until her passing in 1943. And yet, even in death, the sectarianism they confounded was still opposed upon them. Buried in Milltown, she was not allowed to have her husband's name, McBride, on her gravestone due to religious difference. They were married for 15 years, and George McBride never remarried after Winifred's death. A few years ago, the trade union movement, led at that time by my distinguished colleague Peter Bunting, paid for and installed a new headstone for both at his grave close to the Somme Hospital in Newton Ards. This statue corrects those forced omissions from our history. Like Mary Ann, Winifred challenged the conventions. Like Mary Ann, Winifred challenged the conventions of background and class. Each chose the political road less taken, and both have been thoroughly absolved by history. Their legacy is all around us, in the faces, stories and attitudes of every woman at this gathering, and in the 57% of the membership of all our trade unions in the North. I have little doubt that if both were with us in 2024, they would have been at those gates with the rest of us on January 18th, on the picket lines, making the case for better pay and better conditions. We as a society are deeply indebted to the humanity of both of these women. Their statues may be metal, but their legacy is most definitely human. Thank you.
Very powerful words from Jerry. Go on, give him another round of applause there. Good. You all wriggling your toes to stay warm? Like, just it's on behalf of myself as Chief Executive of Belfast City Council, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming here today. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to walk to the right towards the statue, if you would follow me. Thank you so much. Some of you might relate to that. Right now, ships that leave stops, ships made by the very people of Belfast are sailing into a land of slavery, a land where a man may not live his life as he chooses, all because his skin is a different color to you or I. A black man or a woman is born by the miracle of God's own hand, just the same as you are. Yet, across that ocean where our ships stop, a man can buy another man, like a farmer trading pigs or a lady buying shoes. The Americans allow life, invest at holy life to be bought like it were nothing. Can you think what it means to be owned? Are we all not equal in the eyes of God? Are we not all here on this earth to live a life of peace and love? I ask this of you for asking is all I can do. You must have a brother, sister, cousin, friend, one who is planning to board that ship to new land, one who is sealed and scripted to buy the fare to embark on an adventure in the land of the free. Then, free. Free unless your skin is different to the white man's. It is not the land of the free, it is a land of slavery. Tell your sister, brother, cousin, friends of this abhorrent crime. Tell them to do their moral duty. Do not put their hard-saved money into the hands of evil men. Evil, greedy, sinful men who trade in lives. Protest, Belfast. Stand up for the rights of our black brothers and sisters. stand tall and shout from the rooftops, we shall not be silent. We believe in equality for all of humankind. No to slavery. No to the trading of men. No to the land of the free abusing the black people. Thank you. I beg you, make your voices heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was never one for public speaking, but I was never one for speaking. Most certainly not about myself, my comrades, or my friends. I keep secrets, not make speeches. I am Winifred Carney. Winnie, if I could have your attention. I've been known by some other names you may have heard. The typist with a Webley, or crack shop. But I am a little more than just that. Let me tell you what I have seen. If I could have your attention again, thank you. Belfast. The conditions of the poor are atrocious. Working conditions are horrendous. Mill workers, barefoot, working their fingers to the bone for a wage that cannot afford them shoes for their children's feet. As a qualified secretary, I turned down the opportunity to earn a very decent wage for that of a mill worker in order to mobilise the women into taking strike action against their fat cat bosses. Girls, your condition and the conditions of the sweated women of all classes of labour in Belfast means that you are the easy victims of disease, and your children never get a decent chance in life. Belfast mills are slaughterhouses for women and penitentiaries for children. The world unites in wondering of what material are these Belfast women made, who refuse to unite together and fight to better their conditions. A general stoppage in the spinning rooms of Belfast would stop all the linen industry. But it depends upon you, the working women of Belfast. If you have courage enough, faith enough in yourselves and each other, you will win. Talk about success, and you will achieve success. I worked with the Irish Textile Workers Union and the Irish Transport and General Workers Union, and it was here that I met Mr. James Connolly. His politic, his commitment to the working classes equalled mine. I went on to become his personal secretary and confidant. So when I received a telegram from Mr. Connolly requesting my immediate presence in Dublin, I accepted without hesitation. Monday, 24th of April, 1916. I marched with the leaders and the volunteers to the GPO, where Mr. Connolly gave the order to attack. I was released from Aylesbury Prison in Wales on the 24th of December, 1916. I returned home, and I was determined to play a part in the shaping of a new Ireland. I wanted to dedicate myself to realising Connolly's ideal of a workers' republic. I was elected branch president to the National Convention of Cumann na Man and went on to become branch leader in 1917. These women supported my candidature in the 1918 elections, a Sinn Féin candidate in the Central East Belfast Victoria Division. 1918 was the first time women over the age of 30 were allowed to vote. So I focused my attention on them and the mill workers, appealing to them to use their vote better than men had done so far. I received just 395 votes. I hadn't a hope. I am a suffragist and a socialist, a Republican and a trade unionist, an active member of commemorate, the Irish Citizens' Army and the Gaelic League. I had such hopes for an Irish future beyond this rotten social system of ours. But it was never to be. The docks are gone. The factories have disappeared. But the workers are still out there, still toiling, still making profits for the wealthy who squander it. Thank you.
Like a big difference to me.